Hello, this is Michael Donahue, and welcome to Money Matters TV. I'm a shareholder in the CPA firm here in Philadelphia, Drucker Scaccetti. We're about 70 people. I'm joined today with my co-host, Paul Mitchell. Paul is a commercial banker, and Paul, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure. Well, as a commercial banker for 30 some odd years, I work with small and medium-sized businesses, so that would be companies typically maybe $1 million in revenues to maybe 30, 40, $50 million in revenues. Typically, I work with the regular commercial banks, whether it's a Citibank or Core States Bank or Republic Bank or Beneficial Bank in the greater Philadelphia area. I also spent about 15 years in the mezzanine finance business, first with Allied Capital out of Washington, D.C., and then with Core States, where I was the founding president of the mezzanine fund, which effectively at the time was the private equity fund for the 22nd largest bank in the country. And mezzanine financing is kind of a hybrid between regular commercial lending and venture capital. So it's a certainly riskier than traditional banking. The best deal we ever did was Urban Outfitters, which exceeded everybody's expectations. It was a wonderful story and part of Americana now. So still work with small businesses. I like to sort of read between the lines a little bit, not just rely upon financial statements, but what the entrepreneur's background is and what their goals are and that type of thing.
Paul, we're seeing, I think we have similar clients. You mentioned the sales range of your customer base, and it's very similar to our client base. We're seeing some changes in the recent decade, since 2008. Where lending is getting a little bit more regulated.
Oh, gosh.
And it's a little bit more difficult for those companies to get the financing that they could get more readily before. Do you see that? Do you see, or maybe you can see opportunities in that chaos?
Well, it's been loosening up. Certainly after the Great Recession, when the regulations came in, it was a terrible time for a small business to try to get a loan for a couple of reasons. I mean, you had the regulations, number one, so the bank's hands were more tied and all. But also, I mean, a bank really wants to see that, gee, you made money the last couple of years.
Right.
After the Great Recession, there weren't too many companies that could say, yeah, we made money the last couple of years.
Right.
So that hurt. But so it's gotten better, but it's problematic to the extent that I think a lot of businesses are actually still skittish about even taking on loans that they're not 190% convinced that they can easily repay.
Do you think there's some norms that businesses should think about on an ongoing basis, where maybe they get their financial statements in order, just in the reporting of it, and not just, I mean, obviously profits are great, but just making sure their financials look strong as far as general accounting principles?
Yes, the credibility factor is extremely important. I'll give you two examples. One is a little bit of history. The Urban Outfitters, one of the reasons I was very interested in financing them is they had just hired a professional CFO who'd come from a small public company in the industry in the apparel business. So I knew the entrepreneur was serious about doing what he needed to build his company. Many entrepreneurs, financial statements, the last things they want to spend money on, they're paying attention to. The bank insists upon it, they get it done. But they're dragging their feet to get it done. So that's one example. Another one was where I had a company a few years ago that had a multi-million-dollar deferred tax asset, effectively a tax loss carry forward on its balance sheet. A soft asset, certainly. You can't spend it, you can't kick it, you can't sell it to somebody. If you took that off the balance sheet, they'd have a deficit net worth, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
So the accounting firm was, again, a good accounting firm in the area that I believe that treated the financial statements with good applications of GAAP, and our credit department also supported that. So
it brings credibility to that asset that otherwise would not be there.
Especially if things are not as strong as we'd like to see. If
you mentioned different levels of bank. I mean, you were talking about some regional banks, some national banks, some international banks. Are there certain banks that fit certain industries better, or certain, where they have a certain way of getting?
I mean, typically your community bank that let's say has $100 million to maybe $1 billion in assets, that doesn't have any branches outside the region, I'll say, is most oriented toward small businesses. To the extent that, I mean, if you're really talking about a very small business, maybe under $100,000 in revenues, the individual, the owner, is the same thing as the business.
Right.
And personal credit reports are important and that type of thing. So there's a
There's not as much
a
a
balance
line
there.
between the business and the owner, right? It's
That's
the owner.
that's right.
Right,
You know, they
right.
can get a car loan for maybe $60,000. You know, if they put down 20%, you know, somebody
Sure.
will finance the
Sure.
rest of it. But yeah, the regional banks definitely are more, you know, broad scale. They'll cover both smaller companies and some larger businesses. Large regional banks to large national banks typically, I mean, they're going to handle the largest companies and the largest credits. They do service small businesses, but it's more of on a streamlined basis.
Right.
You're not going to get, it's almost going to be credit scored, if you will.
In the past decade, I would say, since the financial crisis, we've been used to low interest rates.
Amazingly low.
You know, low compared to the 20 years before that. Everybody's been talking about that. I guess if everybody knows something, it's not worth knowing. But I mean, everybody thinks that the interest rates will be going up. Do you think
Yes.
they will be?
Yeah, well, the Federal Reserve is talking that way. They're watching it very closely. Yes, I mean, we've been in an abnormal situation for an abnormally long period of time.
Right.
Typically, rates, you know, will spike up and down, that type of thing, over several years. So,
So when it comes to
absolutely.
lending, is it better to lock in a longer period if it's possible?
Absolutely.
But I guess lenders are smarter, right? Lenders probably won't allow us to lock in.
Well, you can go in with some of the larger banks that will sell these
Swap.
swaps, okay, and other types of credit instruments that you can get longer term, you know, lock-ins, that type of thing. But you got to consider the downside too. If things don't go the way they're supposed to go,
Yeah.
it can get expensive to get out and that type
Yeah.
of thing, where you want to refinance.
I think our
things like
clients
that.
only hope that the rise in interest rates is gradual. It's not. It's not like a quick overnight increase. That it comes up slowly in more ordered manner. But
Yeah.
you know, I guess we
And
all hope for that.
Well, in our lifetime, and we were both around when the prime rate was hit, was it 21.5%?
Yeah, I remember high rates.
People try to get mortgages for at 15%.
Mhm.
I mean, nobody wants to go back to that. I mean, that's terrible. But
Right.
interest rates as low as they are, kind of it speaks that the economy must be not doing so well.
Right.
So there's sort of a happy medium there
So
somewhere.
the one of the bigger players now is the Small Business Administration. There's
Mhm.
SBA
Yes.
lending that's out there, but you know what I found in the past was SBA lending is really great if you have some real estate. Does it work for anything? If for a business that doesn't have real estate, can it
Well,
work?
certainly other fixed assets, you know, machinery and equipment. And there's some aspects of, you know, cash flow lending there.
Right, right.
Real
So
estate.
you find that it's valuable and it can be used quite a bit.
Yes, and you talk about the different banks and that type of thing. Do your research, and there's data out there. You call the local chamber of commerce; it might have the data. Certainly call the SBA. Who's most active doing SBA loans
Right.
in your area?
Right.
Because banks, they all look the same to the outsider, but they all have their own personality. They focus on different things. The biggest banks may do a lot of very small SBA loans as a
Right.
community reinvestment act type of activity.
Right.
With smaller banks, will do a lot more larger loans because they're trying to protect their capital. And they can make a $3 million loan with a guarantee it helps.
Who are the alternatives to a bank? I mean, what are the other alternatives? for
Oh,
lending?
they're more and more now, it seems. So a lot of internet type banks, we never see anybody. You just send them some information or give them some information or,
Right.
or say it orally over the phone and you'll get a loan. Look how much they charge. Look how much how they get repaid. Typically, they want to charge your checking account.
We're seeing some activity from the, say, I'll call it the private equity space, where there might be some private groups that are loaning, that are, you know, the lending is actually
Yeah.
at a higher rate.
Right.
You
So
know,
what's
sometimes-
a higher rate? I mean,
Well, I mean, it could be LIBOR plus 6 as opposed to LIBOR plus 2. you
okay,
know,
so
something like-
that's 7-8% now. or
Yeah.
something.
So
Okay.
it's still it's a good rate, but you know, you would like to get lower rates today as well. But you know, sometimes they're the ones that will lend.
Yeah.
And,
They're not regulated.
right.
That's the main thing. And there are lots of other alternative lenders that are they're bigger, you know, institutional type of lenders
Right.
that have become very active.
Have they? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, even in real estate lending, it's amazing. I talked about mezzanine financing before. It's a hybrid between a loan and venture capital.
Right.
Typically, a loan would be structured. I'm smiling because it's talking about a high rate, 12%. 12%. If prime rate's 3%, it's 12%. If prime rate's 19%, 12%. And then they look for warrants, some equity
Sure, some
feature
equity kicker. Right.
for another,
Possible.
you know, 7, 8, 10, 12% on top of that.
Right.
But there's no collateral in that type of situation.
Right. So it's what you need to do at the time to grow your company. You need to borrow the money,
Yeah.
and that's the terms, right?
So do your research. Okay,
Right.
there's an awful lot out there. We just went through like a whole bunch. Who knows what's going on? I mean, if I'm your banker, I'm probably not going to tell you what all the other banks are doing. Okay, what resources would you have that would know about what other banks are doing? Maybe your CPA firm.
Right.
Absolutely, because you're dealing with different.
I would think so only because we have different clients.
That's
different-
right,
yeah,
exactly,
Different clients,
sure.
different industries, so we
Yeah.
can get trends of what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true, yeah. And we found lawyers to be very helpful in this as
Mhm.
well, because they're helping with acquisitions and whatnot.
And again, just like any business, some lawyers, some CPAs are interested in introducing you to different sources. Others are not.
Right,
It's personality.
right.
Okay, so you got to talk to a few. Talk to your friends, whether it's business friends, the Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
trade association, could even be the CPA trade association or the lawyers trade association.
And of course, as an accountant, whenever we pick up an issue where a client might need some lending, the first thing we look to is what kind of tax incentives could be out there that would actually lower their need for lending, right? Because there would be enough cash flow available from some of these incentives that are out there. And states and the cities have a lot of these incentives that they can help.
Yeah,
but
a lot of alternative, a lot of
so
things to find
financing
out.
is not just banking, right? Financing is a lot of things, just internal cash flow plus banking.
Mhm.
So
And understanding your industry. I mean, again, when the riskier the financing is, the more the lender knows about your industry, the better. If they're going to have to learn about it, they're going to say, well, that's another risk. We
Right.
don't need that one.
right.
But if we've minimized the risk and understand your industry and knowing, hey, it's on the rise, maybe it's the fracking industry, which has been decimated
it's
the last
up and
few
down,
years,
hasn't it?
but
Yeah.
it's on the way up again and stuff.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So there's more lending going to that space now. Yeah.
I know some fracking companies that actually raised money a couple of years ago.
Wow, it's wonderful.
So they talked to the right people. Most
Right.
people weren't going to lend them money,
Right.
but some were.
Right.
So
So I think we have to take a question. Is
yeah,
that
we have a
right?
question from one of our viewers, and I think it's right up your alley, Mike. The question is, and it's from Thomas Hillman of Marion. What are a few changes to the federal taxes for 2018?
Well, I guess that's really a crystal ball question. I think that what we do expect is change. However, with this administration and with Congress and Congress being Republican, we thought there would be a change as of now. Health care did not pass quite like we thought with the Affordable Care Act. A lot of things didn't occur as quickly as we thought. Infrastructure is not there yet. Tax policy is something that could change. But Paul, maybe you can remember back in the day, the last time we had really comprehensive tax reform was 30 years ago, 1986.
Really?
So, I mean, that was...
It was that long ago.
Yeah, it was. But we can get something that's less comprehensive, which would be lowered rates. So we would have a
How about
situation.
making the pile of tax regulation instead of this, but
I think that's
like
one of the
this?
president's goal. Make it simple. Of course, by doing this, a lot of special interests are getting squeezed out, and and that's really one of Ryan's, the House Ways and Means Committee chairman. Proposal is basically to eliminate a lot of deductions and special things, and stay with the charitable deduction, the home mortgage deduction, and lower the rates, especially corporate rates, which the president agrees with, and also this whole "Making America Great" philosophy of, taxing, exporters of the U.S. in a more friendly manner than people that import. He believes in American production.
So here we are, only a few months left in 2017. If you're talking about 2018 tax changes, they would take effect January 1?
Yeah, oftentimes
18?
when rates come through, they are prospective. They are the next calendar year, but items such as capital gains rates oftentimes come into effect that date. So if it passed November 15th, it could be for gains effective that date,
Or if they pass
could
it
go back.
November 15th, 2018.
Yeah, it could go back to January 1st of 18,
yeah.
or the same thing could be said with 17. But no one knows where it goes, but I do
Okay.
think that we will see a lower rate environment in the future, which businesses should be thinking about, and they should be accelerating deductions because it's a permanent savings at that point. If you can take a deduction at a higher rate, as opposed to a low rate next year, that's a permanent tax savings. So deferring revenue, accelerating deductions into 2017 are going to be really important when we look at the December 31st deadline for tax planning for a company.
So stay in touch with your tax consultant.
I think so.
Specialists. I think your firm specializes in taxes.
Yeah, we're 70 people, and
Wow.
we're specific on taxes. So our byline is tax as a business strategy, and as I said before, our client base is family-held businesses and their owners. So we are always in contact with our clients, and I would think that if your accountant is not in touch with you with changes, then you're probably not getting something. There's so much going on right now in the federal, state, and local arena that everything. There needs to be some kind of quarterly or semi-annually checkup with each client because there's that much happening and opportunities can be lost.
Good advice. Good advice. So if other viewers have questions, here's how to send in your questions to Money Matters.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S.
Welcome back.
TV.
Michael Donahue and Paul Mitchell. We've been talking about taxes, business lending, but we're going to join now by Amy McKenna. Amy is with the Lower Bucks Chamber of Commerce, and she's the president and CEO of that chamber. Amy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. Paul and I were talking about our clients, and I would think that many of our client type businesses are similar to your chamber membership. Can you describe your chamber membership?
Absolutely. So the Lower Bucks County Chamber has over 1,000 members, comprising of about 65,000 plus employees, and it's a very diverse group. So we have members from all different types of industries, as well as diverse size. So everything from your mom and pop, your 1 and 2 person companies, all the way up to your large corporations, franchises, and companies like Parks Casino, your local hospitals, hotels, and things like that.
So it's a very, very diversified list of customers in your chamber.
Very diversified, and they're not just from the Bucks County area. They're also from Montgomery County, Philadelphia, as well as from New Jersey.
No, why is that?
Because
Philadelphia have chambers of commerce, and other counties have chambers of commerce.
And that's very true, but people want to do business in other places, even outside of their geographical area, in terms of where their company is located. So whether you're a company, if you're a company in Bucks County, you should absolutely be a member of the Lower Bucks County Chamber. If you're a company in Philadelphia or New Jersey and you're looking to do business with companies in Bucks County, then it's also a very smart fit.
And maybe you have better events in other chambers of commerce.
I like to pride ourselves on our events. I don't like to compare against others.
What are some of your events that are coming up, Amy?
So we have over 50 events a year that we put on to provide our members with opportunities to network and build their centers of influence. We have a couple that are coming up very soon. September 18th is going to be our golf outing. That's our annual golf outing at Jericho Golf Course. So that'll be about 100 plus golfers and business people being able to mingle and network. And then we have our Champions of Commerce, which is our signature annual awards event. So we actually right now are putting out a call for nominations. They're due by September 15th. And those are for people or companies or businesses that really have made an impact and a difference in where they work, live, and play. So there's 8 different areas, including entrepreneurial spirit, emerging technologies, workforce investment, economic development, nonprofit, quality of life, and community service.
So they go through some type of nomination process?
Yes, we're currently putting out for nominations. You don't have to be a member of the chamber to be nominated or to win. You either need to be a member of the chamber like yourself, or you have to live, work, or play in Bucks County, Philadelphia, or Mercer County, New Jersey. And then it goes to a selection committee, all of the nominations that come in. One winner will be picked from each, and there's a very nice, elegant award ceremony that'll be held at Penryn Estate the end of November, November 30th.
Amy, with your membership, do you find any common issues with their businesses? Are there certain common threads?
I think most companies are always trying to brand themselves and create that top of mind awareness. I also think that having an opportunity to be able to engage with your elected officials is very important, and we pride ourselves on the relationships that we have with our elected officials to allow an opportunity to advocate for our members, whether they're small or large. And really, everyone's looking to grow their companies, be successful, and then at some point with some have exit strategies. So I think having references and resources for all different areas of your business, whether you're starting a business or now it's really in growth mode or you wind up wanting to exit, it's really important to be building those relationships to be able to have the best resources for all those areas.
How about regulations? We were talking about that earlier. I mean, a lot of businesses, and you read about, it's tough to start a business or to get permits or whatever, or to build something, just can be murder in some municipalities. I hear that a lot from my small business clients.
Sure.
And, to have the research, whether it's hire, a specialized attorney, and a specialized consultant over there, spending, tens of thousands of dollars for doing something that the municipality should be encouraging to be done.
True.
To hire people.
Very true.
Right.
And we do provide resources and try and point people in the right directions. In our office is SCORE. I don't know if you're familiar with SCORE, but the retired entrepreneurs that offer those services for helping to create business plans, marketing plans, if you need 3 years projection
So
for a
maybe
loan.
our viewers, what is SCORE specifically, Amy? What is it?
It is a group of retired entrepreneurs who offer their services for free in all areas of business. They work by appointment only, and they don't do the work for you, but they sit down with you and they help you in terms of any type of business, whether it be a marketing plan, business plans, projections. I know when I was formerly in banking, if somebody was going for a loan and they needed help in creating one of those things, we always recommended them to go to SCORE because it is a free service and it is throughout the United States.
Forget what the S is, but the C is core O of retired executives.
Entrepreneur.
Okay.
So,
Have you worked with them, Paul? Have you worked with them?
Really not much. I know of them and all, but they're also small business development centers, which are kind of, I guess, with SCORE people would kind of operate out of.
Correct.
And usually that's part of a university, for example. I know Pennsylvania and Temple have SBDCs and that type of thing. Good, great resources.
Yeah, they actually operate, we have a local one here in Lower Bucks out of our office. And then the SBA is also a member of us as well, as well as the Bucks County Economic Development Corporation. So we always try and point people in the appropriate direction to be able to get the different resources.
You mentioned what the goals of your chamber are, and it's probably the goals of many of our business clients as well.
Sure.
What's your vision like for the chamber if you go out 4 or 5 years?
So we just finished our strategic plan, so we are looking out 3 to 5 years, which is really
Really?
nice.
3 to 5, huh?
3 to 5 is what we're doing right now. Obviously, we want to grow the chamber. We are a not-for-profit organization, so our funds strictly come from membership, sponsorship, and event participation. So we obviously want to grow our membership, but the purpose is to be able to give the best return on investment back to our members. So we're always looking to better our events, introduce certain new events, and really listen to our members and what they're looking for to provide the best benefits, the most benefits, and most return on investment for them. And we also need to recognize, and be modern and with the times, that the time is of the essence. So we really want to create a great value and great impact with each of our events to make sure, especially a small company, that they may only have time to do one event a month, that it's a very impactful event and they really get a lot out of it. And the large companies also, we have to balance to make sure that they are getting the best benefit, the best branding, the best opportunity to really showcase what products, what services they offer as well.
Right.
How did you get into business?
So I've been involved in business associations for almost 20 years.
Wow.
I've been a member of the Lower Bucks County Chamber myself for almost 20 years, as well as Visit Bucks County. Previously, I was the vice president of the Newtown Business Association for 6 years, on the board for 10, involved with the Chalfont New Britain Business Alliance, helping that to grow. And right before I came here, I was actually the vice president of the Mid-Jersey Chamber of Commerce. So
you're playing both sides of the bridge.
I am playing both sides of the bridge, yes. And actually, getting back to your question, I was in banking at the time and in Bucks County. And while we could lend in New Jersey, we had to close in PA. But I said, wow, that's a whole new pool of people. Wound up going over the bridge to Mid-Jersey. That's how I got involved over there, got known over there. stepped over the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
But people in New Jersey also want to come and do business here in Lower Bucks, so it's a
Sure.
great opportunity for them as well.
Yeah. Well, you certainly sound rather qualified.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like a business association.
Thank
Holy
you's a good
smoke.
start, right?
Well, all the business
Well,
associations.
yes, right?
It always is a good way to learn about a business.
So how competitive are the chambers these days? I mean, you're lower, so there's probably an upper Bucks and there's a central Bucks. I mean, you guys fight over each other, or how does
No,
that
we don't
work?
fight. I like to think we complement each other.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, if you're in a certain area, I think it's important to be a member of that area. But I think we all specialize and have our own niches.
Mhm.
So I think it's really important. We do joint events with other chambers,
Okay.
both Montgomery County, Bucks County, over the bridge in New Jersey, and Philadelphia as well, to also provide our members opportunities to be able to meet others. So I like to say we all get along very well.
Wow,
Right, I'm sure.
okay.
I would think a lot of our members are stretched for time. You know, but they also have education needs. They need to be kept up to date on certain regulations and certain, new methods in marketing or whatever. Do you have certain groups in your chamber that address those?
So we have over 20 different committees and roundtables, and we also put on educational seminars, which we call Sharpen Your Edge seminars. There's also opportunity for our members to be able to be a seminar sponsor, where they put on a seminar of a topic that they think would be of interest to the members. So we always try and listen. Sometimes we'll put out surveys as well to see what topics. And then we have our breakfast meeting, which is the keynote that's held every month, free for our members to attend. And we have keynote speakers on all different subjects.
How many members would attend like a signature event like that?
Typically
Or
about
keynote.
100 members.
Wow,
Mhm.
okay.
And some are guests as well,
Uh-huh.
but about 100 members that come to the breakfast meeting.
Who have some of the recent speakers been?
So we recently had Jessica Fetterman from Mind Shuffle talking about branding yourself and 5 tips on branding yourself. Congressman Fitzpatrick is coming on October 19th, so we're very excited about that. We've had Don Pollock in the past, if you remember Don Pollock from television.
Action News, right?
Uh,
No, is it right? Yeah,
Some
Action,
news,
yeah.
some
Yes. So we've had a lot of different speakers on a variety of subjects. We had somebody that was an internal auditor talking about fraud and internal fraud within your
Wow.
company. That was very interesting, a forensic auditor. So we really try and vary, and then we move it all throughout the Bucks County area. Actually, coming in November, we'll be over the bridge at Capitol Health. So we try and move around in terms of venues, but we also always try, we have a committee that comes up with different topics for the speakers.
Right. Yeah, I think that when I go to chamber events,
Yes.
any chamber event, but there's always a wealth of knowledge around the room. I mean, you have your investment people, your bankers, your accountants, lawyers, I mean,
Yes.
and business people in general, not just professionals that service them, and just getting them all together and sharing thoughts are so valuable. It's such a valuable tool. For the group.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to have those forums available, is very helpful. So I want to thank you for that, because I am a member of the Lower Bucks Chamber. Full disclosure, I should have said that in the
Oh.
We're
beginning.
proud
I
to
guess.
have you.
Yeah, but I have been a member of other chambers in the past. Our business footprint for Drucker and Scaccetti is probably anywhere within a 2-hour drive of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So we see more and more of our manufacturing base, our distributor base in Bucks County in general, Lower Bucks, and Fairless brings with it, your area, the old U.S. Steel plant,
Sure.
which is full of manufacturers. I think. Have you?
Yeah,
do you have
absolutely.
members in that area though?
We do, and actually another signature event that is very important, especially in the topic that you're speaking, is we do an e-conference, which is a half-day conference focused on economic development and economic insight. And we actually had Dennis Jones from USS Real Estate and
Oh,
KIPC.
really? US Steel. Okay.
Yes,
Right.
he was actually one of our panelists in the morning panel that we had. So we do that in May. Parks is the lead sponsor, so we've already.
We're out of time. Thank you, Amy McKenna from the Lower Bucks Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Paul Mitchell, our commercial lender, that gave us insight into the lending world. And Paul, maybe you can introduce the guest.
Yes,
for next.
our next guest will be Gordon Filapes, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, founder and CEO of TGM Partners. So that brings our show to the end, and I'd just like to remind all of you that your money matters.